Hi, my love. This morning we're doing things a little bit different. Just a few weeks ago, I traveled to New York for the launch of Waking Up with Ryan at the Lighthouse in Brooklyn. And I got the privilege to sit down with my dear soul sister, Ricki Lake, to have a conversation called The Messy, Beautiful Work of Waking Up. Together, we explored the journey that brought me here today. The messy moments, the beautiful ones, the heartbreak and the fear, all the things that had to happen to support me on my journey to remember who I really am. Before we go into that conversation, you're going to hear some reflections from Danielle, Robay, and Jamie-Lynn Sigler. But before that, I want to give us just 1 minute to drop in. So let's go. I invite you to take a few deep breaths as you rest your eyes closed, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose if you can. Just relaxing into this moment. Acknowledging that the day ahead is going to have lots of activity. Lots of thinking, planning, strategizing, probably some worrying. And so before all of that, the intention of this time together is always to slow down, to check in and connect. So as you allow the breath to move in and out, resting back into yourself, remember who you are. You are not your thoughts. You are not your roles and responsibilities. You are the entire universe having a human experience. Take a deep breath. You chose to come here to explore what it's like to believe that you are a human, to believe that you are your roles and responsibilities, and ultimately to walk the path to remember that you are the entire enchilada, that you are the entire universe, without beginning and without end. Take a deep, deep breath and let it go. And just say with me, I am willing to remember who I am. Yeah, say it out loud. I am willing to remember who I am. Beautiful. When you're ready to blink your eyes open, please do so. And enjoy this conversation with Ricki Lake. Loving you from here. You found your way here to Waking Up with Ryan. I'm so glad that you pushed play. This is the place you and I come to wake up together. So let's take a deep breath and begin.
I'm Danielle, Robay. I have a podcast on iHeart, so I'm very excited to welcome Ryan to the iHeart family. I want to know how you all wake up. So will you turn to the person next to you? I know you're all cozy. And tell them honestly the first thing that you do when you wake up. How many people said they check their phones? Yeah, I'm guilty too. Okay, I don't want to change your routines. So the first thing you're going to do when you wake up is possibly check your phones. But the second thing you're going to do now is listen to Ryan in the morning, okay? He has an amazing 10-minute guided inspiration meditation. It's going to be a little bit different every day, but you're always going to get Ryan, his light, right? And then he's going to have a conversation, something like we're going to hear tonight. So without further ado, I want to introduce our first guest. You know her, you love her. She's an actress, she's an author, and she's a beautiful human being. Please make some noise for Jamie-Lynn Sigler.
I'm beyond excited and honored to be here because I'm trying not to get emotional. Well, it's about fucking time that the world knows about Ryan Weiss. about 16 years ago. Well, a little bit before that, I met Ryan. He was the assistant to my agent at WME. He's the friendly guy that would pick up the phone when I was calling to ask why I didn't have a job. He would call me to tell me I booked it or didn't. And then we kind of, went our separate ways. I found myself at a time of my life, I was kind of at the bottom, a bit of an untethered soul, really lost, no foundation of faith, nothing to fall back on, no footing, really hopeless. I walked into Earth Bar in LA one day, and there was Ryan online waiting for his drink with a feather earring and like a tank top and sandals. And I'm like, Ryan? And, we connected for a couple of minutes and moved on. And then we kept running into each other. At least that's how I remember it. And I felt this gravitational pull, this instinct, this urge to just connect with him. I didn't know why. So I asked him to go to lunch. And I sat across from him in that lunch, and I shared with him my deepest, darkest secrets, that I was living with MS and telling nobody for 15 years, that I was scared, that I was unemployed, that I was single, that I was sick, and I had nowhere to turn. Ryan at the time was, unbeknownst to him, on his path of helping people, saving people, and showing them there's a different way to live your life. I insisted he be my coach. We didn't know how badly we needed each other. And one of the most beautiful friendships and relationships of my entire life began. Over the course of a couple of months, Ryan introduced me to A Course in Miracles. And all it took was a couple of minutes every morning, a really simple practice that shifted my perspective, shifted my energy, and shifted my life. Within 8 weeks, I booked a new show and I met my husband. He has been, I said it before, a true lighthouse for me for decades. He's the wisest, kindest, most enlightened human I know. We've been on adventures together, and this adventure in particular, I'm most excited about. I can't wait for you all to be able to experience him in the ways that I have, and have him help you change your life in whatever ways you might be needing. Again, like I said, it's a simple practice, a few minutes every morning. That's all it can take.
I know that Ryan doesn't believe in things just happening for no reason. So whatever you're here tonight for is what you are meant to hear. And with that, I am so excited to introduce the man of the hour, as well as one of the most incredible talk show hosts ever. Not just of our generation, ever. I idolize her. Please welcome Ricki Lake and Ryan Weiss.
Ryan Weiss, it's
Ricki Lake.
It's really wonderful to be here to support and celebrate this new endeavor of yours. I've known you not as long as Jamie-Lynn, but I've known you quite a while. We have a bit of a history. And we're going to talk about your journey to getting here, but maybe we should tell everybody our origin story of us meeting first.
Okay.
Okay. I met Ryan during one of the darkest times of my life. It happened to be
Apparently
at Burning Man. It happened to be at Burning Man. I see so many friends here. We met at literally at first camp, the beginning of Burning Man 2017. I had just lost my beloved husband to bipolar and suicide in February of that year. And I was very lost. I was on sort of a pilgrimage. I was very vulnerable and wide open and hurting. And we connected immediately. And it turns out he was at my agent's at WME, but we never really knew each other. But you changed my life. You have been such a source of strength and wisdom. I mean, I'm a lot older than him, but yet I really look up to you. I truly do. And our paths have been so aligned. I was at your beautiful wedding to your husband, Ori. I've been a small part of your beautiful baby.
Ricki Lake is the reason that we found our surrogate. We said a prayer 2 weeks before this moment happened. We said a prayer, dear God, we know you make life. We're not going to go through the agencies, not that there's anything wrong with that, for surrogacy. And a week later, I happened to also be at Burning Man. And a woman walked up to me and said, have you and Ori had a baby yet? Who I'd met 7 years beforehand. I'm just going to tell this story really quick. And I said, no. And she said, well, are you looking for eggs? And I said, yes. And she said, do you remember 7 years ago when I told you that I would love to be your egg donor when you guys are ready to have a baby? And I literally know, like literally no memory of that. And that's our egg donor. A week after we said that prayer, got home, went to dinner at her house, and she said, what's going on? We told her that story. And so we got home and we said the prayer. All right, time for the surrogate. Went to Ricki's house for dinner, and Ricki said, unprompted, I know your surrogate. And that's how our surrogate came in. So without you, I don't know, our little baby Dea would be in the world.
We would have found a way, but I'm honored that I had a little small part in it. And Amy Brown is a doula who's in the audience, but I also I'm in the birth world.
You sure are.
And I just, it just gives me the most joy just knowing where your life has led to today. But we're going to go back. We're going to start with the messy and the beautiful beginning. Ryan, you spent nearly 2 decades helping people navigate healing, relationships, spirituality, and personal growth. When people hear the phrase waking up, they often imagine peace, clarity, and bliss. But anyone who's actually gone through a real transformation knows it's rarely that neat. When you look back on your own journey, what feels most messy about it, and what feels most beautiful?
Well, firstly, Jamie mentioned this moment, which was very significant for both of us. So I experienced an awakening, like a real serious awakening. There were several years where I was working in entertainment and thinking, for many reasons, this is what I have to do with my life because that's the only way I'll be loved and respected.
You were on Broadway. You did Wicked on Broadway.
Yes, and that was incredible, and that was a miracle. It was then going into the business side of entertainment where I was like, well, this is the thing that's going to make me all the money so that I can be respected and loved and accepted, which is the thing that that pushes a lot of people in business unconsciously. Anyways, I, in that time, found yoga because I had been a dancer, and now I'm sitting at a desk, working 14-hour days at a computer and making phone calls, and I found this yoga studio that was in the gym at the basement of my agency. So I started going to class every morning just as a way to not be like this all the time. And this is 19 years ago. And I started hearing the teachers quote Eckhart Tolle and, Ramana Maharshi and everything they would say. I was like, I need to get that book. And I started just consuming this material with this voracious curiosity because I could not understand how me, a privileged boy from Los Angeles, was not educated on the most essential things about who you are and what life is and what's available for you. It's like I have all this education in my mind, but the essential stuff is just not there. So I became obsessed. And there was a situation where the main thing I was doing, and actually this reminds me, you have these cards on your chair. They're not just promotion, they're also for you to keep by your bed. If you didn't look at them, on the back of the card, you don't have to look now, the 3 questions that changed my life forever, which come from A Course in Miracles, are to wake up in the morning and notice that your mind right away goes into, what am I gonna do with my time, my life? That's what I did my whole life. What am I gonna do today to be successful, to be, seen and respected and safe and not vulnerable, And this shifted my whole paradigm because I started asking these questions from A Course in Miracles, which are, where would you, dear universe, where would you have me go? What would you have me do? What would you have me say and to whom? And what I realized was if I don't reach for that connection, it's like it's there, but you're not accessing it. And if you're not accessing it all the time, no wonder you feel alone and separate, and you're not witnessing the miracles that are available for every single being on the planet. So I was doing that. And then one day, the 3 projects that I was like super passionate about, that were my dream film projects that I was producing, fell apart in 10 minutes. None of them had to do with each other. One was this incredible film that I had attached 2 incredible, the kind of actors that you can get financing in a minute. And I don't know if I should say this. I will. They had a horrible breakup and he burnt her house down. Okay, that was one call. The next call, you know what? Fuck it, let's go.
Let's
Another
do a
one
DNA
was with,
test.
yeah.
No,
I'm not gonna,
that's my
one of
old
them
joke.
was like
Sorry.
crazy, and that's not worth going into. Go Ricki, go Ricki, go Ricki, go Ricki, go Ricki, let's go. Every time my husband sees her, he just goes, go Ricki, go Ricki. So, and then another one, at the time I was running development for these 2 really, really renowned producers of film and television and theater, and they had produced the movie Chicago and won the Academy Award. And I was producing this project that was amazing, and it was an all-black musical. I'll leave the names out of it. And it was set in Africa, in Uganda, and it was remarkable, like perfect theater. Had done everything to get it all set up. It was awesome. And he, my boss, dares call their agent and say, we love the project, however, no one's gonna go see an all-black musical. So we really think you need to write some white characters in it. I got the call. So this is that 10-minute period. The house burns down, this other thing falls apart. Then I get the call from their agent being like, screw you, who do you think you are? I had no idea what he was talking about. That was the moment I quit the entertainment industry. Because I knew that this was a response to a prayer. I knew that these 3 things falling apart in the wildest way was the universe saying, it's time. And I went into my boss's office. I said, you're not getting 2 weeks. You're not getting 2 minutes. You will never see me again. And I quit the entertainment industry. Long story short, I spent a year searching, learning, studying, practicing, spent every dollar I had no money, had to move out of my house, moved into my sister's house in the valley, sharing a room, sleeping on the top bunk with my nephew who was 3 years old. Literally. Woke up one morning to him literally on top of me, kicking and screaming. I was in the most vulnerable, scary place in my life. I don't come from a world where I can like borrow money from my parent. Like, that's not a reality. Here I was, this like agent turned producer, like living in my sister's house, not knowing what I was gonna do. And like, oh, I've failed. I've ruined everything. But my faith was still there. And I prayed that morning and I heard a voice that said, face your fears. And I went to go look for an apartment that day. I found some places. It just so happens we ran into each other the day before. And so I look at this place. I'm like, God, this is an amazing home. Dear God, thank you for showing this to me. This or something better, okay? I leave, I get a call from Jamie-Lynn. Something about seeing you. I need to spend time with you. I'm like, I'm fun employed, what's up? I go to her house. We spend 3 hours together. She shares with me her journey, her pain, her loss. On one hand, I'm like, what the hell is she telling me this for? This is hard stuff. Like, and I'm not a medical doctor, I'm not a therapist, but on the other hand, I was hearing the teachings of A Course in Miracles in my head that says, you are not the healer. Your job is to sit and stay in connection and be present. That's it. Stay in your own connection and be present. And I remember starting to ask you questions. And we started unpacking all this stuff, and we had quite a miraculous experience together that day. I leave, I get a call. It's my former colleague from WME forever ago. She asked me to come over to her place. I go, I put my hand, so that morning I was looking for an apartment, and I said, dear God, show me where to live, this or something better. I put my hand on this wrought iron fence, and I go to open this gate. And a man says to me, welcome home. And there is no one there. I walk in, there's a Mother Mary statue over the fireplace. There's all this gorgeous, gorgeous gardening, all uplit. You've been there. There's church bells. There's a dude on the second story looking down playing guitar. It's like cinematic. I walked into her unit, and then the same man's voice said, "You are going to live here." And my friend, Sean, who was like a cynical, uptight agent, was like, "What did you just say?" And I hadn't said anything. I said nothing. And she said, "Did you just say you're looking for a place?" Okay. Now I'm hearing stuff. She's now hearing stuff. I was like, "Yeah, I'm looking for a place as of this morning." She goes, "I can't believe this. Barry moved out this morning. There's 8 units in this amazing Melrose Place building. James Dean lived in that unit when he passed. Let me see what I can do." I get a call the next morning. I go meet the landlord. She tells me, "The place is yours. Write a check for $2,500. I have $200 to my name. I get in my car and I'm like, "All right, universe, I'm hearing voices. What is going on? Show me the money." It's literally what I said. In that moment, my phone rings and it's Jamie. And she says, "I don't know what happened yesterday. Something major happened. I'll spare the details, but I'm hiring you as my coach." I said, "I am not a coach. I don't like coaches. Let me introduce you to my mentor. Let me introduce you to this holistic nutritionist I know. Like, I'm here to be your friend and to love you, but I'm not a coach." She said, "Nope, I've spent all this money doing I feel better today than I have in a decade. You are my coach. I hired a coach once. He charged $250 a session, 10 sessions at a time. I have a check written to you for $2,500. I am in my car. Where are you? I'm coming." It forced me to say yes. The reason I share this story is I had a wild awakening experience. That story was one of many experiences where like the skies opened, and there have been many since then. And so that's the beautiful part. The messy part to me is the real part. That part you don't have to work for so hard. When it happens, it happens.
It's like a calling.
Yes. The messy part is when you realize that your ego is still running the show. You've had your awakening, but the ego voice is still right there trying to constantly bring you down. And so I think the real journey that I want this show to help people with is to embrace everything that's going to come up inside of you as a result of saying, "I'm willing to know who I am."
So when Jamie-Lynn hired you to be her coach, did you instinctively know how to be that for her? Were you scared of letting her down?
So scared. So scared that before our second session, I wonder if you know this, I was like, I have to give her money back. I don't have her money. And I called my friend and mentor, Marianne Williamson, and I was freaking out. And I was like, I don't know what to do. And she was like, "You're in the spiritual big leagues now, buddy. Like, that's literally what she said. And all I could hear was, I've made the biggest mistake in my life. But then what she said was, your ego is so loud right now, Ryan. You're believing that you are supposed to be the healer. That is a kind of arrogance that will get in the way of you being able to be of service. The truth is, as I said before, the role of a healer is to just stay in connection with your own grace and your own center and show up. And that clicked me in. And so when we'd work together, I would just show up and see what wanted to happen. Over time, I built a curriculum, but for the first 7 years of coaching, it was just seeing what was wanting to happen in any moment.
And did you know who you were trying to be? You were an actor, you were a performer for a long time, you were an agent behind the scenes producing. When you stepped away from that, was it clear to you? I mean, the coaching's, happened, but did you know that you were destined for something greater?
I don't think I ever thought that this was going to be something that was going to be successful. Did I want it to be? Yeah, because why? My ego was still involved. My ego was still saying, you still need enough money to buy the house and rent and buy the car and rent the yacht so that one day someone will love you enough to want to marry you. Your family will finally love and accept you, even though they do, but I couldn't see that. And that you'll be worthy of love and belonging in the world. I said to Ori, if I don't, I need to stop everything. I need to stop everything. I need to go into a cave and I need to release all attachment I have to this career, to my personality as a helper. And I did. And for a year, I didn't work with anyone. I didn't show up. I had my friends.
Was that your waking up moment?
I think there's a series of waking up moments. I think the first big ones, as we're talking about, I think my first one was when I was 16.
What happened then?
I walked into a dance studio. I walked into a dance studio at the Edge Performing Arts Center in LA, and the teacher was named Denise Leitner. And the class started. I'd never taken a dance class before, never identified as a dancer. There were live drummers in the corner of the room and all these professional dancers. Went in the back, and she starts the movement, and my body knew exactly what to do. And it was a moment I don't think I had the words for back then, but it was a moment that there was this perfect intersection between my body and something beyond my body. And literally within 2 years, I was on Broadway dancing and singing. I think the last couple of years of really being willing to stop trying and stop seeking and stop studying and stop reading everything and literally have the only practice be to go inside myself and say, who am I? That's a teaching from Ramana Maharshi.
So what happened 3 years ago that caused you to do that, to stop?
I've been really blessed to have a career as a coach where I've never marketed. My whole career as a coach was like, I'd work with somebody, they'd see somebody, that person would say, what happened to you? And then they'd call me. And that's how my career always has been.
Word of mouth.
And a few years ago, it all stopped. It all stopped. I was used to like incoming calls, texts, emails, and it just stopped.
The pandemic maybe had something to do
No,
with it?
it was after the pandemic. It was like maybe 2 years ago. I took it as a sign because I personally felt the best at the work than I'd ever been. I was like, this is not happening because I'm like somehow not good at this. Like, I love this work. I love working with people. There's something else going on here. And what was really clear was like, you're not supposed to be doing this in the same way anymore. There's something else wanting to happen. And so that's when I said to Ori, I need to like not work and you're gonna have to make the money for a year by yourself. And it was only a year after that I met Jason English from iHeart, and through a series of circumstances because of a project I was working on with Geo. And he said to me, we need to get you out into the world. Like, what do you want to do? And I shared with him that I used to send these daily morning emails, and he was like, this is the show. And we started developing it. I've been blessed to put a lot of things out into the world over these last few years. Never have I experienced the kind of support and like wind. I mean, having Danielle and Jamie and Ricki and Lighthouse and iHeart and like Jenna and Emmanuel in LA and every person here like coming to be here and support this and share about it. There's something else going on here. And I think it's as a result of me letting go of the need for it to happen finally.
When was that loneliest period in your life? Was it this past 3 years?
I would say in the past 3 years, that time of like stopping the searching, it wasn't lonely. I think the loneliest time in my life was probably from like 10 years. So I realized that I was gay when a kid in the locker room took his shirt off and I felt electricity move through my body at 10 years old, 4th grade. I remember exactly where I was standing. I remember exactly who it was. To say it scared the shit out of me is an understatement. It frightened me in a way that was so painful. And because I didn't know what gay was, I'd never heard the word. I didn't know that you could be attracted to your same sex. So in my mind, I was the only one on the face of the planet. All alone, this one fucked up kid that like no one else is this way, and I'm the blackest of all black sheep. Has anyone else ever felt that way?
I can relate to that, but not in the way, I mean, I'm not gay, but I was molested as a child and I didn't talk about it. And so I felt like I was literally the only person that had gone through that until I started talking about it in my early 20s. So which is why I was fat, which is why I got hairspray because I was fat. So it ended up being a blessing in a weird way, but I felt very alone, very ashamed, and I felt like I was the only one. Yeah, so community is so, so valuable. And whenever we feel like we're, the underdog or, the one that's not understood or being heard and represented. Can I ask what coming out to your family was like for you?
Yeah. I came out to my sisters first, and they were cool-ish. They weren't judgmental. They were scared. I'll share this, and I think my dad would be okay with this. My dad had quite a lot of trauma in his early life, and one of them was from his father, my grandfather, rest in peace, who was very abusive. My very, very clear, not just a hunch, but he just never said it, was that he was a closeted homosexual. And that he was very, very angry because he was keeping something hidden. And I'm pretty clear from some information that he was actually acting on it, married to my grandmother. And so that's one thing. My father's uncle, who was really considered, because my father's father was so abusive, my dad's mother's brother kind of got out of the family unit and had developed this life in San Francisco where he was like a successful man who was like about the town and dressed perfectly and like went to the opera and the ballet and the best restaurant. People knew who he was. And my dad came from squalor. He didn't come from anything. And my dad he met my mom and he went to medical school for podiatry in San Francisco. And his uncle adopted him and showed him what life could be for the first time. So this man to my dad was the king. He was the prince. He was like the everything. He died of AIDS in 1986, right at the beginning, because he was sleeping with men. And these are the two things that my dad had associations around homosexuality. So you can really understand that when his dear, like, baseball star stud son comes out, how difficult that would be, not because he doesn't love and accept me, but because in his mind, you are choosing a life of horrific pain. And so his response was not one that I would want my 16-year-old son, or 18, I think at the time, to receive. I think at the time, it was incredibly hurtful, but looking back, I can really understand what drove it. And now they're beautiful and obsessed with my life and my husband. And
you speak about love all the time, but not in the romanticized way most people think about. What is love from your perspective, and what do you know about love today that you didn't know 10 years ago?
I think when we think about love, we associate it with the word like, right? Like, I like empanadas, I love empanadas. I like you, I love you. There's something to it that has like a color of, this is something I enjoy. And I think that is such a shallow relationship with the word love. Because what that does is that if you want to be loved, you need to be lovable. Then you need to be the perfect image and person who has it all together and is doing the right thing and showing up in the right ways and has the right career and doesn't need too much and doesn't talk too much and doesn't annoy too much and doesn't have any addictions or compulsions or all the normal things of being human, right? And you need to be all those things. And if you're not those things, it's going to be impossible to love you. And I think that's a lot of what we grow up with here. And then I heard, I don't know who, some say, define love this way. They said, love is a space. Love is the space inside of which all things get to exist. That was the definition of love. Love is the space inside of which all things get to exist. So if I love myself truly, and if I love you truly, I recognize that I am the space inside of which all the parts of me get to be here. Like I was talking about in that video, that me really loving myself is when the fear arises, hello, come take a seat. What's up? I'm not going to fix you. I'm not going to change you. I'm not going to shun you. I'm not going to run away from you. I'm not going to argue with you. You're a part of me that it needs to be here. You have a purpose in my life. And so me loving myself is learning to not just like the things about me that are likable, but learning to love and hold space, like be the space to let the parts that I've spent a lifetime running from. And I think that is awakening. I think that is awakening. I think awakening is recognizing that you, as I said, what are you? You are awareness. It seems like you're this body, and this body is amazing, and it's a vehicle to get you through the world and to have experiences. It's an incredible vehicle. It's a car, right? Like, don't you get in your car and you tell it where to go and how fast and how slow and turn right and turn left? But have you ever had the thought, I am my car? No. But we wake up every morning and we get into this body and we tell it where to go, and we look out the windshield and how fast and how slow. And meanwhile, we have this complete belief, a whole belief system that says, this is what I am, and I'm only alive for this number of years, and I better get it all in for that number of years, and I'm afraid of this thing called death because I believe that I am this body, and therefore I believe that when this body perishes, I end, and that's fucking scary. What the hell does that mean? There's a moment in my life when the clock ends. What happens then?
Tell me.
A Course in
What do you
Miracles says,
believe?
that birth is not the beginning of your life, but it's a transition, it's a continuation. It's like putting on a suit of clothing. And that death is just taking off the clothing that you've been wearing, and that the mind, the beingness that you are, the awareness that you are, is eternal. It's here right now. It was here before you were born. It's here after you're born. It's just maybe on a different radio frequency than what we can pick up with this thing called the brain.
So do you have a fear of death?
I did have a fear of death for many, many, many years. I think now it's a curiosity. I would never say, this is what happens when you die. I could say, this is what I believe happens when you die, but I would never have the arrogance to say, I know. But here's the thing. What I know with a capital K in my full heart, and I feel it, is I'm awareness. I am, as Ram Dass says, loving awareness. I don't feel like me is just this thing that's confined to right here. While I'm sitting here, even with my eyes open, I have the experience of being the entire expanse. And it's not because I'm special. We're all it. We're all it, imagining that we're separate bodies. That's the insanity of being human. And so am I afraid of death? I reserve the right to change this answer later. In this moment, I don't feel afraid of death. I feel very curious about what that transition is like, but not curious enough to do it right now.
And has this way of thinking changed in the last few years since yes?
Yeah, and it's not that a way of thinking has changed, it's a way of being has changed. There's been a shift in my identity. A Course in Miracles says that enlightenment is the shift from it's a shift in identity, from I am a body to I am spirit. Spirit's just a word for the wordless, right? It's a word to describe something that has no words. I think I feel that I've experienced that shift.
Let's talk spirituality. You grew up not believing in God. Yeah. So today, spirituality is such a central part of the work you do. What changed?
Well, I think I mentioned earlier that whole thing with A Course in Miracles where it's like, I think I wasn't experiencing a relationship with something beyond myself because I believed growing up. I mean, I grew up in a very Jewish family. My siblings, as I mentioned, are all Jewish clergy. My uncle was a rabbi. We were at synagogue all the time. I went to Jewish sleepaway camp. And there was a lot of preaching, but I didn't see a lot of living. There was a lot of sermons, but I didn't see the sermons make their way into the household, onto the schoolyard, into our culture. And so I was just like, this is worthless. Other than...
You really thought it was worthless?
Worthless.
You grew up, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I remember rolling my eyes, sitting in synagogue in Los Angeles, watching the people pull up in their Rolls Royces and their Gucci bags, and it was all about, where am I sitting? Sorry, I don't mean to diss on my religion. Every religion has this societal thing. And talking smack about the family, the person sitting on the other side, and then sitting down for Yom Kippur and atoning for your sins, and then doing it when you left. I was just like, this is not, at least that version of it was not, I did not connect with it. And I also felt like, you're telling me about this God that loves everyone, and meanwhile there's war, there's famine, there's cancer, there's death, everything seems to be decaying before our eyes. Like, there's no way there's a God. So I just wrote it off. And then when I started studying A Course in Miracles.
So can you explain for those of us watching, what is A Course in Miracles?
Yeah. A Course in Miracles is a metaphysical text that is said to have been channeled through a woman named Helen Schuckman in the early 70s. I stand to be corrected on that. Early 70s. I think it was 1972. She started channeling this massive text. She was not necessarily a spiritual person at all. She was a paralegal. And she started having this thing where this voice would come out of her, and this man, who was her colleague, would write down what she would say. It said, "This is A Course in Miracles." I'm going to paraphrase a little bit. "This is A Course in Miracles. Like, only the time in which you choose to take the curriculum is up to you. The whole course, this course doesn't aim to teach the meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught." Okay, the course doesn't aim to teach the meaning of love. That is beyond what can be taught. It does, however, seek to remove the blocks you hold against the awareness of love's presence. So the course is like it's a mind training to become self-aware enough to start paying attention to all the chatter in your mind that you believe is just true, which is why you keep seeing it everywhere in your life, not realizing that what's happening here is happening there.
So is it a course you do with a group of people,
No.
kind of like Hoffman?
No, it itself calls itself a self-study program. It does not want to become groupthink. It does not want to become a religion. Okay. There are people who do it in groups, and that's kind of not what you're supposed to do, but do whatever you want. There's the text that's like 500 or 700 pages, 500, whatever, and then there's 365 lessons. And it's very Shakespearean in tone. It's hard to read. Like, it's really hard to read and understand, which is why most people don't get into it. There's a great book. There's several. Marianne Williamson, you all read A Return to Love. Great book about A Course in Miracles. The other great one that no one has read is called The Disappearance of the Universe by Gary Renard. I highly recommend this book. The Disappearance of the Universe by Gary Renard. It's wild. And the course, then it has 365 lessons, one for each day of the year. That it's like these really practical lessons in becoming aware of like your attachments, the way you think, and then practicing opening. And so for me, when I was learning, hey Ryan, you don't have this relationship with the divine, not because it's not there. It's always there. How are you breathing? Right? Like, how are you alive? If there's not the electricity of brilliance, whatever you call that thing, that can't be minimized to anything, that's beyond the mind's capacity to understand, it's the everything. And so if you don't feel connected to that, just ask. Just say, I don't know. I used to do this for like years at the beginning. I don't really believe in you, but I'm willing. I need something to change, so I'm willing. I don't really know that you exist, whatever you are, but I'm willing. And then things just started cracking.
That brings me to fatherhood. Yeah. You have a 10-week-old daughter.
I do.
And how has that changed you and your belief with spirituality, with God? I mean, I would imagine it's beyond profound.
So we have a baby girl named Dea, and she's beautiful. And what a gift. I think it's really hard having a newborn. And people don't tell you that. I think people forget. It's really hard. And at the beginning, for the first 6 weeks, we no nannies, no night nurses, raw dogging parenting. And I was at the end of my rope, sleepless for many days, a baby who was colicky, who would scream for 4 hours, sometimes straight. And what I noticed, and I'm a resourced, emotionally fit human being who teaches other people emotional fitness. I have a career where I make a lot of money teaching people how to develop and strengthen your capacity to feel discomfort. That's what I've done for a long time. Well, I noticed the urge. I understand shaken baby syndrome. I know you're not supposed to say that part out loud, but we got to say it. I understand why when you leave the hospital, they make you watch that video. about shaken baby syndrome. If I, someone who has a career of being resourced, am at the point where I'm like, I don't know what to do with you, and I want to just plug your mouth with this pacifier so you'll just stop crying, it pushed me. Now, mind you, I did not plug her with the pacifier, but I could see that animal in me that was just like, just make it stop. What this did for me spiritually is, firstly, it got me off my high horse of thinking that I'm emotionally intelligent in the way that I thought I was. It kind of knocked me off the foundation that I thought I was standing on, which was, humbling. I think that's like a really, it's like, can you hold this? I feel like that's what God is doing with us a lot, or the Spirit is doing with us a lot. It's like these things come into your life that are just bigger than you can hold, and you feel like, I don't know how I'm going to get through this. And all the universe is saying is, you just have an opportunity to learn that you are more. You are more spacious than you thought you were. And so I think that is the big piece spiritually that it's given me. I think the other thing, and this is just for anyone who's going to become a parent out there, this is one of the best pieces of advice that I got from our pediatrician. I come from a lot of trauma-informed training. I've been really obsessed with the world of trauma-informed psychology. And one of the things that is talked a lot about in that work is that, when a child is upset, the most important thing that you can do for them is stay in attachment with them. Mm-hmm. Because that's what teaches them that they're safe to feel what they're feeling, and you are safety for a young child. And so in my mind, you have to stay in attachment at all times. But what about when you staying in attachment, you're so dysregulated? So I was literally with this baby for sometimes 3 hours with her screaming, with my nervous system so dysregulated. Finally, I talked to the doctor about it, and I was like, what do I do? And he goes, I thought he was going to have some technique. Try this, try this, try that. Everyone has a technique, right? You tell anybody else, did you try this? Yes, Mom. No, Mom, I can't believe I didn't think about trying to change her diaper. He said, put the baby down and walk away. And I was like, and he's like woke, my pediatrician. Put the baby down and walk away. I said, no way, I can't do that. I have to stay in attachment with her. And he said, not if you're as dysregulated as you are, which is always going to happen. Put her down somewhere safe. She's okay. She's going to keep crying. You need to walk away for 5 minutes, take some deep breaths, eat something, drink some water, resource yourself, and walk back in. What that did was it made me loosen my grip on what I think I know. Do you know what I mean?
Wow. In closing, if someone is sitting here in this audience tonight watching, they're feeling afraid, they're feeling disconnected, uncertain about who they are, or uncertain about where their life is going, what do you most want them to know?
I think in this room, and probably a lot of people watching the podcast, we're people who have done the work, done a lot of work, done all the work. But maybe are still finding this but why is my life not working the way I want it to? Maybe I'm a little impatient. I've been putting a lot of work into creating something and it's just not happening the way I want it to. Or I want to be in a relationship and the right one isn't coming and I keep making mistakes with the people that I'm dating, or maybe there's something health-wise going, but I've been doing all the work. And then the thought is, let me go do more work. Let me go find another, and I'm not saying you shouldn't do the work. You should get the support you need, right? You know that I'm not saying that. But I am saying you might want to include something else, which is stop all the work. Stop it. Stop thinking there's something else that you're going to improve about yourself that's going to make you finally happy. It's not, no amount of more therapy, more coaching, more retreats, more yoga. All those things are amazing. They're essential. They're so important. But the thought that you need to do more work on yourself is never going anywhere. It's always, you're going to go do that work, and then that thought, I need to go do more work, is still going to be there, and then you're going to go do more work. And then the thought, I need to go do more work, is still going to be there, and then you're going to go do more work. And how many fucking years do you want to do that for? At a certain point, there's something right here. Not leaning forward to do more work. Everything you are is right here, literally like an entire universe that is so expansive and brilliant. And it's what you're on this planet in this body to remember. You came here to forget so you could remember. I'm here to say it's not hard. It's actually the easiest thing in the world. The belief that it's hard is the problem. The belief that it's hard for you to discover who you are and go out there to figure it out is the thing that's pulling you away. My teacher in India says it's the man who's searching for his glasses. He can't find them. He's frustrated as heck. He's asking his family members. They're chuckling at him. Why? Why can't he find his glasses? They're on his face. They're on his forehead. That's what you and I are in these bodies. We're looking for all this stuff. Why? If you really peel back the layers, because you feel like that's what is going to give you joy. The thing that's actually going to give you joy, not happiness, joy, completeness, a sense of finally relaxing, is the glasses on the forehead. It's the thing you're searching for out there, and it's literally right here, and it's the work of no work. It's literally the work of just sitting and resting back into yourself.
I love you, Ryan.
I love you, Ricki.
This was a real treat, and it was so great to see so many faces I love. And good luck with this. I'm so excited for the world to know more of you.
Hi. I hope you're feeling even just a little bit more prepared to take on the day. But before you go, I'd love to hear from you. And you can send me a voice note by going to my website, wakingupwithryan.com. Scroll down to the section that says, Send Ryan a voice note. Tap the button to leave me a voice message with a question you have, maybe a relationship challenge you're having, or a spiritual hang-up, some kind of an emotional struggle. Any topic that you'd love for me to address on the podcast, I want to hear from you. Loving you from here.